Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
My grandfather owned a popular surplus store in our small city. Even though we weren't particularly wealthy ourselves, our family was connected to the upper middle class circles through him. These wealthy folks weren't like what you see on TV. They dressed simply and acted down to earth most of the time except during formal events. This happened about 20 years ago, right before I moved to the big city. I was riding in a motorized tricycle when this flashy guy flagged it down. He was wearing about 4 thick gold chains, multiple rings on each hand, a clearly fake Rolex, and a studded denim blazer in the middle of summer. Who even does that? He demanded I move to the back seat so he and his son could sit in the main passenger area. I didn't mind, so I moved, though I had to endure the overwhelming mix of his sweat and cheap cologne. Coincidentally, we were both heading to my grandfather's store. During the ride, he started lecturing his son in our local dialect. He told the boy never to dress like the drug addict in the back, meaning me, who was wearing simple clothes, warning that it would make him look poor. I was wearing just a plain off-white t-shirt, cargo shorts, and sandals. At first, I thought he was talking about someone else. Then he switched to broken English, telling his son that he would attend the best school next year so he could speak good English like his father. He went on about how rich people speak English and that poor English skills meant you were poor. He told his son he would become an engineer and be rich, warning him not to end up like the supposed addict sitting in the back. Having attended an international Catholic school myself, I quietly mumbled that being a foreigner didn't make you rich. He must have heard me because he shot back that this was why I was poor. I had no ambition. He added that he wouldn't even bother speaking English to me, since I probably wouldn't understand it anyway. I kept quiet. We finally arrived at the store. I used the side entrance to pick up my new Walkman that my step-grandmother had left for me while they went through the main entrance. Since it was summer break, I decided to help out in the store. Suddenly, flashy guy grabbed me and ordered me to carry a huge TV to the register. Being the owner's grandson, I did it without complaint. Then he started ordering other kids around, telling one to carry a stereo system and another to carry a microwave. He thought we were all store helpers because of our casual clothes, and kept berating us when we politely refused. The store manager came over to address the situation, when the flashy guy demanded she fire us lazy kids. For not helping customers, she got pale upon seeing us. I subtly signaled her to stay quiet, and she calmly explained that we were customers before getting an actual employee to help instead. While my friends and I were discussing our summer plans, the flashy guy started up again, using us as an example to his son. He pointed out how we were just jealous bums because they could afford the big TV, stereo, and microwave. At checkout, he tried to throw his weight around by demanding a 15% discount, claiming he was a big spender who personally knew the owner. That was the last straw. I went to the counter and told the cashier to charge them full price instead of the standard discount. He told me to F off, calling me a poor kid. I fired back, telling him I wasn't impressed by his gold-plated chains, fake Rolex, fake designer shoes, and fake jeans. I pointed out that he clearly didn't know who owned the store. When he demanded to know if I did, again calling me a worthless bum, everyone in the store, the cashier, manager, the other kids, and some regular customers pointed at me and announced that I was one of the owners. The truth is, I wasn't really an owner, just a grandson who could occasionally give discounts. But here's the best part. Those other lazy kids he'd been ordering around were the children of the department store and grocery store owners in town. I had security escort him and his son out, and we printed his picture from the security cameras to ban him permanently. The other kids asked for copies too. In the end, his entitled behavior got him banned from 3 major stores in one day. Talk about karma. Before all this drama started, I was just your average person who decided to buy a house in what seemed like a nice community. The neighborhood looked perfect. but I should have known it was too good to be true when the real estate agent kept emphasizing how active the homeowners association was. I've been living here for 3 years now. The first 2 years were relatively peaceful, though I noticed our maintenance fees kept creeping up despite minimal improvements to the community. What really caught my attention was when my neighbor, a retired accountant, pointed out some irregularities in the quarterly financial reports. He called me over to the fence one day and asked if I had seen the numbers, pointing out that they were paying nearly double the market rate for basic landscaping work. That conversation sparked my curiosity. I started attending board meetings and asking questions about our finances. The board president, a man who always wore expensive suits despite being retired, would dismiss my concerns with vague explanations about quality service and long-term relationships with vendors. During one meeting, I requested to see detailed breakdowns of the contractor bids we'd received. The board president quickly shut me down, claiming these were confidential business matters and that they chose the best vendors for our community. When I pointed out that as homeowners we had the right to see these records, he simply said they would take my request under advisement. That's when I decided to dig deeper. I reached out to other homeowners who shared my concerns, and we formed a small group dedicated to investigating the board's activities. My friend, a licensed contractor, agreed to help us expose what we suspected was happening. During his meeting with the board president, their true colors came out. The president explained their system, stating that any contractor who wanted to work in the community needed to include a 10% administrative fee in their bid. When my friend asked where this fee went, the president smugly implied it helped grease the wheels of approval. We had it all recorded, but thanks to our state's two-party consent laws, we couldn't use it as evidence. Still, we knew we were onto something big. Then came my accident. I was mountain biking, a hobby I picked up to stay active, when I hit a bad patch and went down hard. The surgery left me temporarily wheelchair-bound, and that's when things really got ugly. I submitted a simple request to install a wheelchair ramp at my own expense. Their response was almost comical. First, they denied my request, claiming I hadn't provided proof of disability. When I pointed out that I had included my surgeon's note detailing the temporary disability, they claimed their investigation showed the doctor didn't exist. I offered to provide hospital records, but they simply denied the request again, stating further discussion was unnecessary. When I installed the ramp anyway, they actually bought brick pavers to block it. Who does that to someone in a wheelchair? But the best part was when their email slip-up exposed their true intentions. They accidentally sent me an email meant for other board members, stating they were going to get me, claiming I was lying and just trying to be an annoyance. They bragged about how they were the motherboard, said the rules, and what they said goes. The judge wasn't amused by their antics. She not only granted an injunction but also ordered them to stay off my property. 2 board members showed up at my door, red-faced and screaming. They were furious, threatening that I had ruined everything and that I would pay for this. They even threatened to make sure I never walked again. I remained calm, knowing my Ring doorbell was recording everything, and asked them to step away from my property as they were violating the court order. They continued their tirade, screaming about how they now had to pay $44,000 because of me and threatening that they weren't done with me. The police arrived within minutes of my call, and both board members were arrested for making terrorist threats. Turns out their insurance company had refused to cover their legal fees and damages, leaving them personally responsible for $9,000 in legal fees and $35,000 in punitive damages. The district attorney is now investigating the board for years of financial fraud, and several former contractors have come forward with similar stories about required kickbacks. 3 other board members have resigned, and a special election is being held next month to replace them. I'm running for board president, and based on the overwhelming support from my neighbors, it looks like our community might finally get the honest leadership it deserves. Gaming has always been my escape from reality. Ever since I was little, I would spend hours exploring virtual worlds, discovering hidden treasures, and solving puzzles at my own pace. That's probably why the Legend of Zelda series always resonated with me. It rewards curiosity and patience. When I started dating my boyfriend 6 months ago, I was thrilled to discover he was also a huge Zelda fan. We immediately bonded over our shared love for the series, but there was one crucial difference in our playing styles. While I preferred to take my time and discover everything organically, he was more of a let's get it done quickly kind of player. This difference became apparent when we both started playing The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild together. We would sit on his couch, sharing snacks and taking turns playing on his console. At first, it was perfect. We'd help each other spot things the other might have missed, share theories about the story, and celebrate each other's victories. But then came the infamous shrine incident. I suggested we try approaching it from the north side. That's when he casually mentioned that he knew exactly where to go because he had looked it up the night before. I was shocked and reminded him that we had agreed to no spoilers. He apologized quickly, acknowledging his mistake and promising not to do it again. After that, we established a strict no looking up solutions rule. It was more fun this way, experiencing everything fresh, making our own discoveries, and feeling that genuine sense of accomplishment when we figured something out. Everything was going great until we started the 8th heroine side quest. We spent 3 real-world days searching for this statue, exploring every nook and cranny of the game world. I was having a blast, but I could tell my boyfriend was getting antsy. Then came the confession. He nervously told me he needed to confess something. With visible guilt, he admitted to looking up the location because he couldn't handle the uncertainty anymore. I tried to play it cool, telling him it was okay, but asking him not to reveal what he had found since I wanted to discover it myself. He quickly agreed to keep quiet about it. I excused myself to use the bathroom, but what I really did was pull out my phone and look up the location too. I had a deliciously evil plan forming in my mind. For the next 90 minutes, I put on the performance of my life. I would get tantalizingly close to the statue's location, then veer off in another direction. Each time I got near, I could see my boyfriend practically vibrating with tension. I would point out random interesting things in the distance, and he would respond with nervous fidgeting, asking where I was looking. When I announced I was going to glide down a cliff to check something out, I could see him practically bursting with the need to say something. When I paraglided right past the statue, deliberately not turning around to look at it, my boyfriend was literally pulling his hair out in pure agony. He was biting his lip so hard I thought he might draw blood. Finally, I couldn't keep up the charade any longer. I burst out laughing. I confessed that I had actually looked up the location while in the bathroom. His jaw dropped, and for a moment, he just stared at me. When he finally found his voice, he asked if I had really been messing with him this whole time. I gleefully confirmed it was payback for breaking our rule. He then admitted, between fits of laughter, how desperately he had wanted to scream at me to turn around when I glided past the statue. We both collapsed into fits of laughter, tears streaming down our faces. Since that day, he hasn't looked up a single spoiler. Sometimes when we're stuck, he'll start getting that familiar antsy look, but then he'll remember the statue incident and settle back down with a chuckle. Now, whenever we play together, we make it a point to celebrate our wrong turns as much as our successes. After all, it's not about reaching the destination, it's about enjoying the journey together, even if that journey involves a little bit of playful revenge. When I moved to a new city for work and got a new phone number, everything was fine for the first few months until the calls began. At first, it was just occasional voicemails about dental appointments for someone named Bella. I ignored them initially, thinking it was a one-time mix-up, but then the texts started coming in, reminding me, or rather Bella, about upcoming cleanings, cavity fillings, and root canals. I tried to be responsible about it. I called the dental office multiple times, explaining that they had the wrong number. Each time, the receptionist would apologize profusely and promise to fix it in their system. Yet the calls kept coming, sometimes as early as 6 a.m. because apparently dental offices start their days incredibly early. One rough morning, after being woken up 4 times before 8 a.m. by the same dental office, I decided enough was enough. When the fifth call came in, I answered. The receptionist asked if I was Bella, and I decided to say I was Bella's husband, and that she wasn't available. When they tried to confirm her appointment for next Tuesday at 2 p.m., I told them she couldn't make it because she was scheduled for a gender reassignment surgery that day. The receptionist offered to reschedule, but I just said we'd call them once we figured out Bella's availability. That's when I discovered just how entertaining this situation could be. For the next year, every time they called, I came up with increasingly absurd medical procedures that prevented Bella from making her appointments. During one call, when the receptionist mentioned they hadn't seen Bella in 3 months, I explained that she was getting her second brain transplant that day, adding that, unfortunately, the first one didn't take. Another time, when they called about Bella's root canal appointment, I told them that she was getting her third circumcision that week, casually adding that those things tend to wear off. You'd think they would have caught on, but the calls just kept coming, sometimes twice a day. I started looking forward to them, wondering how creative I could get with my excuses. Then came the day they finally figured it out. The receptionist called asking for Bella, and I gave my usual response about being her husband. This time, though, they called me out saying they knew I wasn't her husband. When I asked how they knew that, they revealed that Bella had told them she wasn't married. They demanded to know who I was, but I kept turning their questions back on them. When they accused me of canceling Bella's appointments, I questioned why they kept calling me about them in the first place. The conversation went in circles, with them insisting this was Bella's number, and me making them admit that Bella never answered when they called. When they asked why I had been canceling her appointments, I explained that I was doing her a favor. They seemed confused, so I clarified that after calling me for over 2 years despite my requests to stop, their unprofessionalism in not fixing a simple phone number suggested Bella would be better off with a different dentist. The receptionist got angry, asking if I thought this was funny. I admitted that while it was initially irritating, it had become the highlight of my day. They tried to intimidate me by saying I was interfering with someone's health and that it was illegal. I suggested they stick to reception work since they made a bad lawyer. When they challenged my legal knowledge, I pointed out that sending me their client's medical information was a clear violation of patient privacy laws. After a moment of stunned silence, I couldn't resist adding one final excuse. Bella wouldn't make her next appointment because she was getting plastic surgery to have her fingers webbed. The line went dead after that. Minutes later, the head dentist called me personally. They apologized at length about the phone number mix-up and promised to fix it immediately. Their main concerns seemed to be whether I plan to report their privacy violation to the authorities. I assured them that as long as I never received another call or text about Bella's dental work again, we could consider the matter closed. They agreed so quickly I could practically hear them sweating through the phone. True to their word, the call stopped completely. Sometimes I miss making up those ridiculous excuses, but I sleep much better now without those 6 a.m. wake-up calls about someone else's cavities. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.